Hi, are you ready for this? This particular video is gonna blow your mind. I'm going to show you how to create a stream graph or stream plot using Excel. The inspiration for this came from a tweet that I saw from Cedric Scherer. I hope I'm not pronouncing his name too wrong, on my Twitter stream. This particular graph that he created showcases the appearances of X-Men cartoon characters in the Chris Claremont's X-Men comic series. So I've never read these comics, but the visual looked so stunning that I wanted to immediately create that in Excel, so that I could see what is possible and what are some of the hurdles. So without further ado, let me present the original graphic as well as the recreation in Excel, the stream graph or stream plot version. Here we go. Okay, so this is the graph that I created in Excel. Before I demo this, let me first take you to the page where I got all the inspiration. So this is the original tweet that that Cedric has put up. This was the graph that caught my immediate attention, and I saw this. It looked so beautiful and so elegant, and it looked almost like a piece of art, and I wanted to understand how to create something like that, and I also wanted to see how far we could replicate that in Excel. If you're wondering how this one is made, this is actually created in R, obviously using ggplot2 as well as the ggstream function to create the stream graphs, and he has beautifully annotated it and colored it and explained it. So I went to the GitHub project page where Cedric has put up all his work. If you are in the mood for some data viz inspiration or just data viz exploration, you could go to his page, and there's tons of beautiful visualizations there, but this one is what we have. And I poked around and I was immediately able to get to the data set, and I loaded that data set into Excel. So this is the data that we have. I've used Power Query to do some really simple additional transformations, but let me first start off with the demo. So if you remember, the purpose of this viz is to show how often the 5 most popular X-Men characters have appeared in the cartoon comic series, and there is issue number 97 all the way up to 280, so about 200 data points, and each issue has these 5 characters portrayed doing various things. They are depicted, they are doing speech bubbles, thought bubbles, and also narrative statements, and this one has all the 4 streams. And obviously Wolverine is colored in gold color, and Wolverine is one of the most popular X-Men characters that is out there, and probably the only one that I'm mildly familiar with. I don't know many of the other X-Men characters out there. I do watch their movies, but just as with most of the pop culture things, unless you are following this deliberately, you don't remember any of this anyway. Anyhow, what I wanted to do is I wanted to create this in Excel. There is no point creating 4 of these. Obviously for Cedric, he was trying to come up with a poster or an artwork kind of thing. For me in Excel, I wanted to have a little bit of fun, so I created all the 4 but made it like a dynamic thing, so you can pick which one you want. You can see the depictions, you can see the speech bubbles, thought bubbles, or the narrative, and you can see the streams. So initially I thought this would be significant amount of work, and it would be very hard to even explain in a video format. But then turns out there is actually a method behind this madness, so I'm going to walk through that process in this video. This might get a bit too technical, so if you are an Excel beginner or somebody who is not too comfortable working with charts at an advanced level, you may want to watch this in parts and kind of take it slow, but nevertheless this is going to be an interesting journey. So please hang around for a bit of commentary as well as some additional tricks and techniques that you may not know along with the process for creating this. So as I said, I got this data from the GitHub project page. The original data set came from the Claremont Run project, which is a comic kind of thesis on the Claremont cartoon comic books, I think, and they have collected the data, and that data in turn was further processed and used by Cedric, and I just copied the data from Cedric because that's easier than going to the original source and scraping it. So this is how the data set came. These are the columns. I've used Power Query to derive the character alone, which is Wolverine is equal to Logan. So I just used Wolverine part, anything before equal to, have extracted that. And I've also added a total column that just gives the sum of these four. I don't think I'm using that anywhere, but it was there. All right, so once this data set is all there, then initially I just assumed that this data set is having only the 5 most popular one. Turns out it has everybody. So you could see Cyclops, Colossus, and Banshee, and Havoc, and all of these other X-Men characters as well. But obviously in this particular visualization, we are only using the 5 most popular X-Men characters. So I had to filter this out. There are different ways to do it. I didn't want to do it through Power Query, so I left the original data as it is. There is about 2000 odd rows of information here, and I used a calculation worksheet to kind of build what I want. So before we go and explore this, it's actually a very good idea to kind of understand the process for creating a stream graph. So once you know the process, then the rest of things becomes easy. So assuming some data like this, you have an ID and A, B, C, D, F, G, H values for 30 rows basically. And if you make a regular area chart, this is what you get. You just select that and you make an area chart, you will get that everything starts from 0. So it doesn't really look like a stream, it just all starts off from here. And everything looks really sharp. So this jump here is like from 0 all the way to 30 and then back to 0. So it's a rapid jump. So it's not really like a smooth thing. If you for example, if you make a line chart from this, so you select insert a stacked line, you will get lines, but you have with line chart an option to go and set up the smoothed line. So you will be able to get kind of even out the rough edges if you want. But with area charts, there is no such option to have kind of a really smoothed thing. So the very first thing for us to do is take this data and smooth it out. There are different ways to do it. You could use regression, you could use complex algorithms to do that, but a more simpler approach is to just use moving average. So by that, what we do is instead of 10 here, we just take a moving average of, let's say, 5 rows. So we take 2 data points to either side and average them out along with this and put that value there. So that's a moving average. The window can be on either sides or downside or upside. You can try different things, and then eventually you will come at a point where that moving average is giving you nice smoothing, and then you can use that. So for example, if we smooth it with just 5, like an average of 2 rows above, 2 rows below kind of concept, and you make a graph, you will get something like this. So this is same data, but it's more smoothed out. Okay, so there is no abrupt jumps or anything. Everything else is kind of like mellowed down a little bit, and you will get this graph. Okay, so that's smooth data, but it is still not stream because everything starts from 0. So now to kind of have the stream effect, the way we want to do is we want to add an extra dummy series at the bottom. Okay, and then that dummy series will effectively make this look like it is centered, so that both values are above or below. If we go back to the visualization here, this is a stream because it's not starting at 0, it's starting at an arbitrary point, and it's kind of pushing and pulling both edges so that we get this nice stream looking effect. So to get that, all we have to do is we take a big number like 100 and add up all the other numbers, divide them with 2 so that we will get the height at any point. So at this point the height is 40, at that point its height is 60, this point it is 70 or whatever. So we will get the total height, and then we divide that with 2, so we'll get the half of the height, and we subtract that from 100, so we will get a different number, and this will be used to kind of move this wave up and down. And instead of just moving it as it is, we will add a small random number to the final result, which will change from point to point, so that it also looks a little more randomized in nature rather than strict division of things. Okay, so this is a dummy series, and we add that dummy series at the very bottom. So we will now get a stream. The final step is really simple. We make the dummy series invisible by selecting the dummy series and formatting it with the no fill color. And if you remove rest of the elements, you will start to get a shape of the stream. So this stream kind of starts off somewhere high and ends off somewhere high, but if you add some additional data points to the either side, it will kind of have that tapering effect also, which is what we have here. This is not the only bit. There is actually a little more cosmetic things done here. For example, I have added one line at the bottom, one line at the top, and made both of those lines smoothed lines so that the stream also looks like smooth, and put the color white on them so that it is working like the way you see here. Alright, so now let's go ahead and explore everything. So what we have is, in the original data, the issue number 97 is the very first issue. That's the comic issue, I believe, and then issue 280 is the last one. So because we are starting at 97, but then we would like to kind of have a little bit of tapering effect to 97 and then taper off at the end to get that kind of beginning and ending tile effect. I've made some imaginary issues, 2 apart up to 83 here, and at the bottom I think it is even more. So from 280 I'm going all the way up to 300. All right, and then this is all fairly straightforward. I'm just going to turn on the formula bar here for a second, and we can examine these formulas. So I'm using SumIfs formula to find out the sum of any of these 4 values. So it could be speech bubbles or thought, narrative, or depictions, because what we want to sum up depends on what is being picked in the dashboard or the visualization. If I click on speech bubbles, I'm seeing speech bubble visual, whereas if I click on depiction, I am looking at depictions. So to make that happen, the data is all there. We just want to SumIfs dynamically on one of these columns. To get that, we are using SumIfs. First, if you look at the conditions, issue number would be that, and then character is Gambit and costume is costumed. So those are the conditions, and what are we summing? The summing will depend on which parameter is picked. So currently number 4 is picked, which means in the array speech to depicted, we will pick the 4th column, so that will, using index, it will give the entire 4th column there, and that in turn goes into SumIfs and it will sum up that. So if this changes to 3, then it will give me the 3rd column sum, 2nd column sum, like that. So because there are 4 options, one of those 4 will be picked. So this is giving me all the values, right? And by character. So it's kind of like a pivoted version of the data, but instead of using pivot tables, we are using SumIfs, because this gives you more flexibility on working with the charts, as well as ability to add these imaginary things on the top and bottom, etc. So once that is done, I'm adding the random variable here. In the demonstration here, I've shown you that we are using a fixed number like 100. But if I use a fixed number, then as I make the graph, I find that, oh, probably it's not working well, I need to tweak this or that a little bit, the random variables. So I've kind of parameterized this with a maximum of the entire range values, nearest multiple of 5. This way it will also help when you go to another thing where there is only few items and we don't need such a big random number to offset. So that is there. So this is giving you a random number to begin, and then minimum and maximum random numbers as well. And we take that number, take the sum of this row, subtract that by 2, divide that with 2, and then subtract that whole thing, and then add a random number between -10 and +20. So we'll get the random thing. So once this is there, we just smooth it out. For the smoothing, what I've done is, again, I have set up a dynamic window. So the window size is 7 currently, but I can change this to 5 or 6 or 12 or 8 or something like that. And this way I get to check different smoothing window sizes to see which produces a really clean and smooth looking graph. And turns out 7 is the one, but having that flexibility helped me get to the graph without doing too much tweaking. And then once that is there, we just average it out. For the average, I'm using offset and index formulas. This way it is more dynamic, because we also have the parameter there, so we can't really select 6 cells and average. We need to figure out whether to pick 6 cells or 5 or 4 or 12. Okay, so this is the average. So once that is done, we start off with random, and then we have all of these characters. And then I'm adding an extra series for 2 things. One is the top line, because if I unprotect this worksheet, you can see that this is not just an area chart. There is actually a line at the bottom and a line at the top, and then one more line at the very top. This is just a straight line that shows the labels. We can't use the axis labels because these are separate things altogether, and they need to be pinpointed at exact location. So there's all of these things. These 2 lines are used to create that kind of a white border around them, as well as this line here is used to draw that little dotted line as a grid line using positive error bar technique. We'll get there, all of them, in a minute. But for now, so the top line is nothing but sum of all these points. That'll be the very high, because this is a stacked area chart, so I need to know what is the very high point, and that would be just sum of all the data points. And it will change, it will go up and down. And once these are there, we just select this much. We don't need the top line for the area chart, only these data sets. So initial random offset, and then the 5 characters each with both costume and non-costume version, and insert a stacked area chart. We will get this because of the additional data points in the beginning and end. We will get that nice little tapering effect, because of the moving average will kick in slowly until it reaches the point where it is fully available. And we can take this, we can just resize. I can see that, and as soon as you make this transparent, you will start to see a nice stream graph already there. The only thing remaining is coloring it and formatting it. That's all, right? So once this is done, then what I've done is I have selected this and started off by filling it with a background color like that, so that it is contrasted, and those bright colors that we have picked here really stand out on that little gray color background. So once that is there, then I started adding the bottom line, and this bottom line is nothing but our starting point. So this is random, and then top line, and top line is calculated here. Okay, now when you do this, it will create bottom line and top line as two more stacked areas on the top, right? This is all right. We will now have to go and select right click on this and then say change series chart type, and select bottom line as a line and top line as a line. So we will get them as two lines. The one in the bottom is green colored line and the one on the top is blue colored line. And then we could simply format these. We can say bottom line needs to be a white colored line, and you will get a warning when you work with complex charts like this Excel saying you're doing way too complicated formatting here, do you want to do it? Of course we want to do it because that's the fun part, isn't it? So once we have that, we can turn that into white color and we start to have that feel of the graph coming in. Okay, for now we will leave these things on. We will remove them and move it later. And then let's start working on the chart labels, because everything else is ready. We just need to color, which is very trivial anyway. So the labels need to go at these points: 97, 125, 150, 175 up to 280. Because our moving average is centered, if I label at the same point, it will be the correct label. We don't need to worry about position of the label anymore. Okay, so what we will do is we will do a couple of things. First, we will right click, go to select data, and adjust the horizontal labels to our issue numbers. This is not necessary, but at least it will give you a clarity of what is what, and then select that axis, format it, and turn this into a date axis. This way that gap between 83 and 97 will be more pronounced. Otherwise it will just treat as each number as one value in a text format with the dates or numbers. They will be correctly spaced out. Okay, so this is done. Then we will go and these are the labels. We will like to put where 97 is a label, issue 97, 125, like that. So I'm adding a countifs formula to check if the issue here is one of the issues that should show a label. If so, it will say the number. Otherwise it will have a number like 240, fixed number, else it will be NA. So once this is there, I'll copy this and select the chart and paste it. This will add one more line because we have now a combo chart, and Excel seems to think you add new data, it will be just a line. So it will add a line with the points at 240 for each of the places where there should be an issue. So once this is there, we are simply using that line to make the data labels. So for that, each label we will generate the data label, and then select this particular line, add data labels to it, and select the labels, value from cells, and then this value needs to be whatever we have generated through the formula. Okay, so this is that, and then we will just quickly apply formatting on these labels. We don't need value, we just need that, and that label needs to be below, and that's it. So once this is done, we can select this line and make that line as no outline, so the line is not visible, only this these labels are visible, and I can color them, I can format them in any which way that I want. So this is that. We can delete the title. So now our chart is slowly coming together, and then at 97 I just want a dotted line that goes here, 125 dotted line, 150 dotted line. To get the dotted line, we just need to have an error bar from either bottom line or the top line. Let's just say bottom line, so the error bar needs to be from bottom all the way up to top. So it's just a, if this is NA, then this is 0, else it will be difference between top line and bottom line. And so once the error bars are there, we select the bottom line. Make sure if you click, it might pick the random series, so you need to actually select the bottom line and then add an error bar. So that will add error bar. Then we will go to format options, pick the error bars. The error bar needs to be just plus, no cap, and it needs to have a custom value which is equal to the value that we calculated here. So this will give you those error bars. The error bars will be initially dark colored like that, and you can go to format options, pick white color, and apply dotted lines and adjust their font point sizes, etc., and we will get that. So that's it. Those are the major things. You can add legends, everything. These legends are all manually typed in with some shapes, etc., and then we will get it. How to get this kind of an interface where I can pick what I want and show. This is actually, it might look really complicated, but essentially what is happening is it's a radio button, and when you place multiple radio buttons you can only pick one. So we will add again, I'll demonstrate this here. We can go to developer, insert radio button or option button, sorry, and then we can place these multiple of them in the worksheet, and if you pick one of them the others will get disabled. So you can only do this once. If you want to have multiple sets of these, you need to actually use a group box first and place them inside, then you can have a group within that. But since for this purpose I only need one set, I don't really need to have a group box, and we can pick one of them. So if you right click and format control and link them to a cell, so let's just link them here. You will then see which button is picked. So that's 1, this is 2, this is 3. How does Excel know which one is which? It seems very silly, but essentially the first button is the one that you added first, second button is the one that you added next, so on and so forth. So we got 4 buttons and I can see which button is clicked. Thanks to our beautiful formulas here, I can then place that linking here and basically change my sum if calculation on the fly as soon as you pick something. So once that is done, that's the radio button. But here it looks like this, whereas in the demonstration here it looks pretty slick and complicated. Really what is happening is the radio button is just button and there is no text around it, and I made it like a really big box, so you can click anywhere and it will be selected. And then I've used an icon in Excel 365. You can insert these beautiful icons, but if you are using an older version, you can always use an image or an illustration or something. So I used an icon and a text in the cell and this, and as I select this, I am using conditional formatting. So I'll show you the conditional formatting to turn that selected range of cells into bold formatting and fill color. So here if chart option 4 is picked, then I want the background color and bold formatting applied there. So this is what I'm doing. So together all of these create that kind of a nice little interesting effect. And then we add some title and put the logo of X-Men Comics there, just like a cherry on the top, and we get this beautiful looking stream graph in Excel. So that is how it is created. I hope you have enjoyed this particular video. It took me whole afternoon to prepare the file and kind of come to satisfaction that yes, this is really good looking and I must share it now. So here we are. Go ahead and grab a copy of the file from the description of the video if you feel like exploring this. But more than that, big thanks to Cedric for publishing the original visualization and kind of inspiring me and probably many others around the world to push the boundaries and create something beautiful for themselves. So thanks Cedric, and thanks everyone for watching this video. Talk to you again soon. Bye bye.